Krista and I were talking last night about some of the interesting things that God does physically so that we can even exist. Some of the laws and interesting things, the way thermodynamics works at the molecular level, it's amazing. One real interesting thing we were talking about yesterday is there's a relationship that you learned probably in chemistry class and you forgot probably right after the semester was over and you didn't have to retain that stuff anymore, right? But it's the law that there's a relationship between pressure, volume, and temperature. And, we know that if you heat something up, it expands. If you cool it down, it contracts. And that's a general law of nature across things, including water. Water will shrink when it freezes, and it expands when it's heated up to the point, especially when it becomes a gas, it just goes everywhere. But if you look at a line that shows how that happens, how that relationship goes at each temperature, you'll find a fascinating thing. Right by the temperature at which water freezes, it goes the other way. If you look at it very closely, there's a little dip in that line. It's not just a straight line. And that is why there are fish. That's why all the fish in this world, in the lakes, have not died. You say, Pastor, I don't understand the relationship. Well, let me tell you. If, in fact, water always shrank when it froze, when a lake would freeze, the ice would sink because it would get smaller and go down. And eventually, the river would freeze entirely, and all life in it would die. But instead, what happens is the water, when it freezes, it expands just a little bit, big enough, that it stays at the top of the lake. Now, you don't have to believe me. Go get out your high school, it might be in your high school, or if you took chemistry in college, or go Google it online, but make sure you Google somebody who knows what they're talking about. It's a little bitty thing. There are all these little bitty things that God has put in place when He made creation, in the way that things interact, in the fact that you have particles in the atom. At the core of the atom, what are there? Well, there's protons and neutrons. Protons are positively charged. Neutrons don't have any charge. They're all bundled together in the middle and on the outside. You've got negative electrons racing around, right? And we all know you get a magnet, a good-sized magnet, and you try and hold it together, positive to positive. Depending on how big that magnet is, you can't quite get it together. Even if they're little bitty magnets, it's kind of cool if you put one on top of the other and then let go of the one, it'll go bing! Right? But if you have a big magnet and it's positive and negative, oh, man, they go, right? Well, then how come the electron isn't pulled into the center of the atom? It's a negative and positive charge. How come there is what's called the strong force that keeps the protons sticking together even though they're all positively charged? Well, that's interesting. It's so powerful that if you pull them apart, kaboom! It's what we call an atomic blast. There's a lot of power there. Fascinating, isn't it? God has made this universe just so amazingly, and He has kept it day by day by day.